Welcome to another episode of Taste of 1914 here at Doon Heritage Village. Today we're making something a little bit different. We're actually going to make grapefruit cocktail. And the ingredients are grapefruit, sugar syrup, claret, which is red wine, and brandy. The recipe comes from the Berlin Cookbook, a 1906 cookbook that's local, and the contributor of the recipe is Olga Rumpel, or she was. She had married Harry McKellar by then, but her father owned Rumpel Felt Company, and they lived in Berlin, Kitchener today. The recipe needs a grapefruit, and you need a wedge of grapefruit, but you also need fruit juice. And the recipe doesn't say what juice, so I'm going to actually use the grapefruit. And we need 4 tablespoons of fruit juice. So grapefruits might seem unusual, but they were available even in Waterloo Region, Waterloo County. They came from Florida and California by train, and they were pretty popular as a breakfast treat. You'd have your grapefruit in the morning, very much like people do today when they're having a grapefruit. We also need a wedge of grapefruit, or a small piece, the recipe says, that's going to go into the glass. So I'm just going to cut a little bit of grapefruit now that we can use. The first thing to do is add ice to a glass, and then 4 tablespoons of fruit juice. And 4. You could always use another kind of juice as well, especially if you shouldn't have grapefruit juice. Next we need sugar syrup. And the recipe doesn't say how to make that, but I've chosen to use another recipe in the cookbook, which says half a cup of sugar to a cup of water boiled for a moment. So I need a tablespoon of this and a second tablespoon of the sugar syrup inside. And I need 2 tablespoons of brandy. I've chosen to use St. Remy's brandy because that's a brand that was actually available in 1914. Just the bottles are a little bit different, so I've poured it into a decanter. And now we need a tablespoon of wine. Now the recipe calls for claret. That's a term we don't hear very much anymore. It basically means wine from Bordeaux in France, and I need a tablespoon. Now everything's in the glass, and I stir for a moment. This recipe likes things for a moment. And now I strain it into the glass for serving. Cocktail glasses actually existed in 1914, but I don't have one that's appropriate, so we're just going to use a regular glass, just like people might. I'm going to strain. And that way any seeds and the ice are gone. And finally we add a small piece of grapefruit pulp to the glass. And now it's time to taste the grapefruit cocktail. Oh, that's refreshing on a hot day. Not too sweet. The grapefruit is nice and tangy, and the wine and the brandy give it that little bit of kick for a hot summer day. Now we don't serve this in the village, but you can always come and see us here in 1914 Doon Heritage Village.